And welcome back, everybody, here On Deck with me, Charles Prodigy Richey. And today, so far, we are without Reese the Ruler on today's show. Should expect to get back next week. Right now, when he resumes. But right now, if you guys want, feel free to follow us on our social media and check out our show streaming. We're streaming live on the ChicagolandSportsRadio.com Facebook page right now. You can catch our show every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. As right now we are in COVID formation, as Ken Davis would say. And I just want, before I go a little bit further, I want to pay a little shout out to my friend, Damon Sporl, who's one half of the D and Davis show. Just made an announcement. He is going to be stepping away temporarily, but I just wanted to say thank you, my brother. Thank you, my friends, for our relationship we have for the last 5 years. You guys have been nothing short of influential, fun to be around, on the midst of laughs. And right now, and just want to wish you and your family all the best. And keep my fingers crossed, like everyone, that we will see you back on down the road soon, some point. And all of the friendships we had is going to be totally inspirational. And speaking of which, before we go a little bit further, I do want to pay one more shout out and tribute to a guy, Mike Golic, who's moving on from ESPN Radio. Yesterday was his last show of the Golic and Wingo show. As everyone may recall, the last 3 years almost now, back in November of 2017, remember when they started off as Mike and Mike in the morning. And that show began in 2000. But Mike Golic started beginning like his ESPN career, his radio career, I should say, back in 1998. And I just wanted to say to a guy right there, when he did that, I mean, this guy was the almost hardest human being and sports lover. Loved to tailgate, obviously. Loved doing things with his family, as Mike Greenberg did. Mike Greenberg was even nice enough to even like us do too, like a little shout out to Mike Golic on there, as far as like what he meant to him and his life, as we look at it. And it was just definitely, I mean, one of the things too, I think that when we looked at it, I mean, he said his little tribute to him. They've been partners for 17 years. I want you guys to take a listen to it real quickly. This comes from Mike Greenberg, formerly of the Mike and Mike in the Morning show. Take a listen to this.
As you probably know, this Friday, Mike Golic will end his 22-year run as the voice of sports in the mornings in America. And you probably also know I spent 18 of those years sitting next to him, and I've really enjoyed seeing and reading all of the well-deserved love and admiration that he's received over the last few weeks. There are two things I'd like to add to the conversation. The first of them is personal, and that is that for all the success Mike and I had together, the most important thing I got from our relationship had nothing to do with the show, and he has heard me say this many times. In the earliest days of our partnership, I saw up close and personal what it looks like when you really put your family first. Because every parent I know says their kids are their first priority, but not all of them live that way. Mike does. He lived that way every single day. And as a result, when my kids were born, I fully understood the sacrifices that go along with that. So I believe I've been a better father because of Mike Golic, and that is more important than all the donuts he ate, all the presidents we met, all the times we went on Letterman, and all the halls of fame that we are in combined. So that's one. The other thing I want to say is professional. And that is that for all the accolades Mike has received, I believe he remains to some degree underappreciated. Because when we started, the preeminent sports opinionists in this country were newspaper columnists first, and then radio hosts. And the big ones then were Mike Francesa, Chris Russo, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, Tony Kornheiser. What all of them have in common, of course, is that none of them were former players, and neither was I. Mike broke through the traditional expectation that former players and coaches could only be analysts, only be personalities, but not could be talk show hosts. Mike was a football player, and he offered opinions on other sports, and he was accepted doing that. And as a result, he didn't just open a door for others, he built one. There was no door before he came along. So Mike Golic changed the game for the hundreds of athletes who have followed in his footsteps, as well as the millions of sports fans who have enjoyed his company all these years.
And there you have it, former running mate of Mike and Mike in the Morning, Mike Greenberg right there. You can definitely follow them both on social media and Twitter. You can follow Mike Golic at ESPN Golic. And Mike Greenberg, you can definitely still follow him at ESPN Greeny, as he is the host of Get Up. Mike Golic, he is going to be moving on to a college football analyst with ESPN. And basically, he was talking to Sarah Spain, basically. And the thing was, too, there was like a little bit, like, us, like, concerns, too. That frustration with his co-host, Trey Wingo. I guess he wasn't really too up to, like, the early morning shows. After a while, I kind of just started catching up with him. You saw a lot more of Mike Golic's son, Mike Golic Jr., co-host, either alongside with Mike Golic and Trey Wingo, or Mike Golic Jr. and Trey Wingo. He found out through the media that this was taking place after he took a vacation earlier in the month. But I gotta just say, aside from that, for me personally, Mike, just more in particular, every time I think of Mike Greenberg, I'm always going to think of it as Mike and Mike in the Morning. They were the masterminds. I mean, like who had the torch passed for them, or who was in the same breath with Mike Francesa and Chris Russo from Mike and the Mad Dog. And I heard that show when I was at a sports emphasis class at my school, Illinois Media School, that those were standards. I will respectfully disagree. They were legends, don't get me wrong. They were one of the first pioneers of sports radio, back when sports radio was ever unheard of. If anything, when I think of a guy like Mike Greenberg, I think of how much of a key he was for the sports radio industry. I mean, pointing the emphasis how national it was, especially in the 21st century, when it started to become more nationally welcomed. The fact of the matter is, it's been rare in society where you hear other cities and other states covering sports radio on a regular basis. I mean, what was a lot of things we'd always find growing up? We'd either find out through like the paper, the newspapers, I mean, TV from a news anchor, sports news anchor, or through the internet once it was in the early stages. Bottom line, period. I mean, those guys helped take sports to a whole nother level. I mean, he's 57 years old, too, so I'm sure age did probably have a little bit something to do with it. I know one of the things, too, over the last few years, a lot of sports companies have been doing, especially when you go on TV. I mean, one thing, the crucial things I learned, they will want more analysts to be more in shape these days. They want to see people like when they're covering this, make sure, like how appearance is everything. And I know he's had to work. I remember he was always been teased for being a big guy for so many years on there, but at the end of the day, this is a guy who loved talking all kinds of sports, primarily a football guy, but he loved talking baseball, basketball, and other college sports. And Mike Golic, I just wanted to say, you along with Mike Greenberg, both of you gentlemen, especially Golic, thank you for all the wonderful 15 years of memory listening to you guys on the air. I want to say 16, but it was about close to 15 when I started working. You guys were my company going to work while I was traveling too, and just to listen to your guys' show, whatever I could before that 9 o'clock start, it meant everything. It started my day off. I still remember like it was just yesterday, back in 2006, when you guys made the announcement when you guys doing something new at the time, which hadn't been heard of, where you're simulcasting your show where you can either hear it on radio or watch it on TV, either way at the same time. I thought that was an innovating genius, and which, in my opinion, later on, once social media started to kick in, like around the mid 2000s, started peaking in the 2010 era, it led to a lot more stuff like, aside from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, it helped set the way. It paved the way for sports to be transitioned to on sports media and doing live stream shows. So if anything, if you guys want to remember Mike Golic, and I'll put my man, Damon Squirrel, in that breath with Dean Davis, either of those gentlemen right there, revolutionaries of the sports media industry, period. So now let's get into some NFL news right now, as we learned right now, beginning with star receiver Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, he has finally learned his suspension. I remember it'll be almost about 2 weeks ago where he's thinking about possibly hanging it up, retiring. I talked to Brian Diardo, NFL writer for CBS, and basically, it's just we just didn't know what kind of handle this guy had as far as like where his personal life was at. It always just seemed like he coming up, we hearing something happening, not just with his teammates, or something with his ex partner, who was the mother of his kids. Then got into a scuffle earlier this year where stuff was being taken, and he beat up someone over stuff being taken from his property, and decides to take out his frustrations there. This is a guy right here, Antonio Brown. Despite all that, he just recently had a kid, I think earlier this week. And I just want to wish him all the best. I hope he finds some sort of closure in his life. And I really would not mind seeing this guy come back in the NFL. He's that good as a receiver. But just like when he moved out from the Steelers and went on to teams like the Raiders for a brief summer, then to the Patriots for a game or two, you got to learn the difference of a locker room. Building up a locker room, building up rapport and trust with your teammates. Anytime you violate that, you're going to be put in the spotlight, like it or not. So let's see how this plays out. He'll be suspended 8 games. Lamar Jackson, just a few days ago, was one of the guys who was going to bat for Antonio Brown, whose cousins with Marquise Brown on there. You still got Mark Ingram on there. J.K. Dobbins getting ready come in there as a running back. Probably second string guy, second or third string. I'll say second string on the depth chart. Got a real good Super Bowl looking team. I gotta tell you, they're going to be scary. And speaking of the Ravens right there, I don't know if anyone got a chance to watch the top 100 countdown list that began Sunday. We were watching. They start off with the top 30 players for like the first 3 days. So basically, we got to the top 10 this past week that were revealed. Remember, these are voted on by the players. Okay, and I think this is usually voted around at the conclusion of the season around Thanksgiving time from what I'm told. So here was the top 10 in case anyone missed it. You got Derrick Henry coming in at number 10 at running back. Then you got Stephon Gilmore, quarterback for the Patriots, who was Defensive Player of the Year. Then you got DeAndre Hopkins, who is now receiver for the Cardinals, formerly the Texans. Tight end George Kittle of the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. Running back Christian McCaffrey just signed a nice, sweet deal with Carolina Panthers. Wide receiver Michael Thomas. And then here's where I get nerved at a little bit. Coming in at number 4 of the top 100, Patrick Mahomes. Then you have 2018 Defensive Player of the Year, and Aaron Donald. He comes in at number 3, so he gets a nice little decent spot in there. And then you also have in there too, you have, so he was number 1 last year in the 2019 countdown for the 2018 season. You have Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seahawks. And last but not least, Lamar Jackson. Cover for Lamar Jackson right now, who's actually going to be the cover of Madden NFL 21. League MVP. Still has not won a playoff game. Yet you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs, who I definitely feel like got robbed of that spot. I think the only thing that hurt Patrick Mahomes this year was he missed 2 games because of that knee injury he took on Thursday night playing against the Broncos. This guy right here, he deserved to be in that number 1. He deserved to have that number 1 spot. When you throw for 5,000 yards as a rookie, first time starting, that has never been done, along with 50 touchdown passes or more. Wins the league MVP in his first year. Then goes on to the next year. After going through the knee injury, he comes back through deficits in the playoffs. What we're talking about here, when we looked at it, I mean, you overcame, I think it was like a 25-point lead in that game against Texans right there. And man, oh man. I mean, this guy right here, or a 24-point lead, I should say, at the end of the day, and then you come back with a 10-point lead against the Titans and 10-point lead against the Niners in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. And he is number 4? I probably, you know what, if not number 1, I can understand being the number 2 spot, but not 4. I have a big-time problem with that one. And I really believe it's because of his injury. When he got hurt, when he went down, he didn't play a full season. He just missed 2 games. But Lamar Jackson, at the end of the day, he set the record for rushing in a season by a quarterback. I mean, this guy right here, who has similarities to a Michael Vick, when we look at it, and man, it's just really incredible to see right here. I mean, what this guy could do. As we looked at it, I mean, man, this guy right here, he's got a lot of promise. He hasn't won a playoff game yet, but you got to believe it's got to be coming real soon once he figures out how to come back from double deficits on a consistent basis when his team is struggling. Lamar Jackson is a very humble man. I like what he could possess on the football field, but me personally, I don't think he deserved to be number one on that list when you not only throw the ball for 3,127 yards, 36-6 touchdown interception. So 6 interceptions, 36 touchdowns, and you rush in that season for that year. 1,206 yards, 7 of those of touchdowns. They actually have 43 touchdowns. I don't know. That's just a little bit screwy in my opinion. I'm not sure. Because even like Patrick Mahomes got responded after that, a little bit of frustration. And basically, he put on there too, a little symbol of a memo pad. As we look at it. So let's find out what happens here. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition here of the Man of Steel podcast. On CSR on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. Once again, you guys can catch me here every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. with my co-host, Reese the Roller. He was not available this week, so I apologize. I was late on that, but we will get back together somehow or keep posted if there's any changes to the show. Once again, if you guys want to follow us on social media, when you want to look at it, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Okay. Follow me at Richey on that Twitter. And ISPR3 with another vote. So we'll keep more on the baseball season next week. We should find somebody out this Monday. And on NBA. Don't be trolling, be rolling. I got it.